Uh, Morning, students. Yeah,
Good morning, sir.
morning. Today we are going to about the historical development of constitution in Nepal. Uh, you know about the we have at the present. This is the seventh constitution. Within 70 years, we have seven constitution. So we are very lucky. We applied, tested, drafted, promulgated new constitution probably every 1 decade. So today we are going to talk about the वैधानिक कानुन अन्तरिम संविधान नेपालको अधिराज्यको संविधान पञ्चायत संविधान नेपालको संवैधानिक राजतन्त्र अन्तर्गतको संविधान अन्तरिम constitution. These six constitution and the latest one is the constitution of Nepal 2015 or 2070 to BS. So uh, when we talk about the constitution history in Nepal, so before we enter into the in a specific topic, I mean a specific constitution, generally we understand we have practiced different kind of power sharing models, different kind of restructuring models. Because we know that Rana gave us one constitution immediately after the independent from Rana oligarchy. We declared the interim constitution 2007 or I think 1954, and then in 1950, I mean 1958, I think province. Let's see, 19 1959 we introduced Constitution of Kingdom of Nepal, or we can say 2015 सालको संविधान. Similarly, immediately after 5 years later, we introduced the Panchayat Constitution in 1962, in English 80, and in 2019 साल in Bikram Samvat. Then after in 1990, probably you are very familiar, or we can say in 2047, we introduced Nepal Adhirajyako Samvidhan, the Constitution of the Kingdom of Nepal, and then interim constitution, then now present, which is in our hand. So there are many perception you can get to read, you can get to know a lot of information from different writers. Either they are politicians, they are political teachers and political professors, either they are constitutional experts, either they are interested in political history in Nepal. They always give you this information. Therefore, I'm not telling you I am the authorized person to telling this and that. The information is always in our market, in our books. Either you want to learn from the foreigner uh, exports in the eyes of his or her analysis, or Nepalese exports in the eyes of their respective areas, politicians, historians, I mean, a constitution expert, whoever, but they will give you these informations. But my concern is here. Uh, what I'm trying to give you, my perception means I'm just telling you this is in the perspective of the legal way, in the constitutional way. I'm not talking about the political way. I'm not talking about the power struggling ways. So what I have learned from my study, but this is based on the legal grounds, based on the political, not the political grounds, but the constitutional grounds. So therefore, I choose this topic, constitutional historical development. I'm not talking about the political change, historical development. So every time when the political system had changed or had changed, the first impact or first victim, first setback was the constitution. अथवा मैले तपाईँलाई के भन्दैछु भने राजनीतिज्ञबाट पनि सुन्नु सक्नुहुन्छ, राजनीतिक प्रोफेसरबाट पनि सुन्नुहुन्छ, राजनीति गर्ने व्यक्तिहरूबाट पनि सुन्नु सक्नुहुन्छ, संविधान अथवा कानुनका विद्यार्थी अथवा एक्सपर्ट्सहरूबाट पनि यो कुरोहरू सुन्न सक्नुहुन्छ। त्यसले गर्दाखेरि यी संविधानहरूको बारेमा सूचनाको सन्दर्भमा विदेशी स्वदेशी सबैकोबाट तपाईँले लिन सक्नुहुन्छ। हामी कहाँ वैधानिक कानुन 2004 सालमा कस्तो थियो, 2007 सालको संविधान कस्तो थियो, 2015 सालको संविधान कस्तो थियो, 2019 सालको संविधान कस्तो थियो, 2047 सालको संविधान कस्तो थियो र 2000 तपाईको इन्ट्रिम कन्स्टिट्युसन कस्तो थियो र अहिलेको संविधान कस्तो छ भन्ने कुरोहरु चाहिँ you can get easily a lot of information. Today our concern is to cover about the constitutional ways. So it means to independent judiciary, power sharing, people's freedom, formations, background, people representative. These are generally we call this the political, legal issues, constitutional issues. Therefore, we can cover in that way. So why I'm telling these things means every 10 years. र मैले कन्क्लुजन गर्ने हरेक पटक राजनीतिक परिवर्तन हुँदाखेरि राजनीतिक परिवर्तन हुँदा आई एम नट टकिङ अबाउट द चेन्जिङ अफ द गभर्नमेन्ट, आई एम टकिङ अबाउट द सिस्टम. You need to be clear. System and government two different things. When the government will change, it does not affect our system. Okay, जब सरकार परिवर्तन हुन्छ सिस्टमलाई असर गर्दैन. But when you are going to change the system, then it affect or directly hit in your supreme law, in your apex law, in your country's constitution. भन्नुको चाहिँ के भने सरकार परिवर्तन हुँदाखेरि संविधानलाई केही असर पर्दैन सिस्टमलाई, तर जब सिस्टम बदलिने खोज्छौं, बदलिने प्रयास गर्छौं, तब संविधानलाई असर पर्छ. त्यो हाम्रो इतिहासको यो आजसम्मको 70 वर्षमा 7 वटा संविधान हातमा आउनुको कारण त्यही हो. हामीले विभिन्न मोडल अटोक्रेटिक किङडम्स पनि हेर्यौं, अटोक्रेटिक फ्यामिली रुल्स पनि हेर्यौं, अनि हामीले चाहिँ कन्स्टिट्युसन मोनार्की पनि हेर्यौं, युनिटरी सिस्टम पनि हेर्यौं, फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर पनि हेर्दै छौं, फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर including republican. So these are the foundations in our context. If you want to know about the political system and constitutional history of Nepal, then you should know about the political changes also. तपाईले राजनीतिक परिवर्तनलाई बुझ्न सक्नु भएन भने किन चाहिँ संविधान परिवर्तन भएछ भन्ने कुरो एकैचोटी बुझ्न सक्नुहुन्न. So it means we need to understand from there. So I'm talking with you just background. Let's talk about what kind of provisions they had incorporated, they had guaranteed for people. Okay, so I'm going to tell you so now I already told you historical development constitution in Nepal. It is the 7th constitution. Nepal has applied different kind of practices. I told you in a unitary system, absolute monarchy. We had such experience. We used to absolute monarchy. Also, we used to constitutional monarchy. Okay, since between 1990 to 2015. Okay, federal structures. Since 1950, we have adopted federal structure of state. So we have this type of experience. So in second point, you can see every constitution governs its unique features and power sharing structure. Unique features. When the system had changed, when the political system was changed, then we included its own features and model of power sharing. Sometimes we introduce absolute monarchy, the sources of Nepal, sources of constitution. So uh, all judiciary, executive, and legislature, they perform their duties, responsibilities according to the constitution, according to the monarchy's interest. Similarly, first Vaidhanik Kanun, the Rana regime declared we are going to run the country based on the return form. We are not going to rule the country based on our family interest, based on our verbal order. So we promised the citizens of this country we rule the country based on return laws. So I will tell you later a little bit more this in this way. So Nepal has adopted different model of power practices. Some are originality practices. Mahatma Gandhi model panchayat system. Why I gave you these reference means during after the independence of India, Mahatma Gandhi he had his own model of political system. I mean power sharing structure. He believed panchayat system is the best model to run the to run India because he always stressed, advocate, and insist to introduce panchayat system. But Nehru and other leaders they didn't believe that panchayat system work in Nepal. They introduced parliamentary system. So, but Gandhi was never in favor of parliamentary system. Therefore, Mahatma Gandhi, he had his own ideology. He had own principles. He believed in panchayat system. However, they successfully incorporated panchayat system in separate chapter of Indian Constitution. They gave this uh, they introduced this panchayat system introduced by Mahatma Gandhi in the chapter of the Constitution. But panchayat system he always believed in the same way we also did this practice. Okay, we did this practice, particularly during the 30 years when we remember about the panchayat system that it was originated by our own soil. It was we introduced these practices based on our tradition, custom, and practices. And some are power sharing democratic to federalist, including monarchy and presidential model. Look at this. At the present moment, we have the presidential model. But we used to monarchy system as well. Even there were two type of monarchy: absolute monarchy and constitutional monarchy. So every constitution they separated their powers. So in this way, when you look at the historical development of constitution in Nepal, these are the basic practices in our country. Look at this. Almost three generations we have invested to formulate a constitution, one of the major setback to stability of country of Nepal. Three generations. Since 2004 सालदेखि लिएर 2015 सालसम्म we talked, we advocated the constitution should be this and that. It should be guided this and that things. This is the fundamental thing. This is the basic norm. This is the principles. Is the way to lead the economic development, national building process. So we believe the constitution is that document, but we have invested our three generations from our grandparents to till now us. Okay, and Nepal is a playground for making different type of experiments in terms of constitution drafting and enforcement. I told you every 10 years probably Nepal had changed its constitution. So why I'm telling these things means when we change the constitution, I mean when we change the constitution means we adopt new political system. जब हामीले संविधान परिवर्तन किन गर्यौं भन्दाखेरि हामीले चाहिँ एक्सपेरिमेन्टको लागि नयाँ राजनीतिक संरचनाहरूलाई चाहिँ इन्ट्री गर्यौं अथवा नेपालको संवैधानिक विकासलाई हेर्नुहुन्छ संवैधानिक विकास क्रमलाई हेर्नुहुन्छ भने राणा शासनदेखि लिएर तपाईको 2015 सालको अथवा 2072 सालसम्मको सबै कुरोहरूलाई हेर्दाखेरि हरेक पटक राजनीतिक परिवर्तन भएको छ त्यो परिवर्तन हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ हामीले राजनीतिक कुरोलाई चाहिँ संविधानमा हालेर एड्रेस गर्नुभन्दा पनि संविधानलाई नै फ्याँकेर त्यो राजनीतिकलाई मूल धारमा राखेर चाहिँ हामीले संविधानहरू बनाएको छौं जसले जेसुकै भन्नुस् त्यो तपाईहरुको आफ्नो आफ्नो विश्लेषण हुन्छ मेरो विश्लेषण चाहिँ यो एउटा नेपालमा अस्थिरता हुने कारण मध्ये यो एउटा प्रमुख कारण हो अस्थिरता किनभने every times we believe the constitution is major setback. Constitution does not give you authority to do that. This is the major laws which has been restricted your opinions. I can tell this is the narrow mindset. I will tell you later in one class why the Indian constitution is more flexible than the world's other constitution. They have a one principle. Whatever you have a problem, whatever you have a standoff, whatever you have a differences, our founder fathers, our visionary leaders, they gave us this constitution, and we need to be looked for within the constitution. Don't go beyond outside of the constitution. अथवा Indian constitution किन फ्लेक्सिबल छ भन्दाखेरि कोर्टले प्रश्न व्याख्या भनेछ तपाईं के समस्याको समाधान संविधान भित्रबाट खोज्ने हो हाम्रो राष्ट्र निर्माताहरूले हाम्रा फाउन्डर फादर्सहरूले हाम्रा पूर्वजहरूले चाहिँ हामीलाई संविधान दिएको छ हरेक समस्याहरू त्यो भित्रबाट खोज्ने हो संविधान भन्दा बाहिर गएर समस्या खोज्ने होइन संविधानलाई छोडेर अर्को समस्या समाधान गर्न लाग्दा पनि अस्थिरता हुन्छ अथवा we disregard, we disrespect our founder fathers. They give us these guidelines, they give us this framework. We need to be look for all solution within the constitution. होला त्यसो भने एमेन्डमेन्ट गरेर राखेको अथवा त्यहाँनिर आवश्यक छ भने त्यसलाई रिपिल गर तिमीलाई के थप्नु पर्ने छ थप but you need to be add one more brick to support this constitution. Thapa त्यसमा definitely constitution is still not perfect. Tara don't go beyond this framework. जुन कुरो चाहिँ अब हाम्रोमा चाहिँ मैले त्यसबाट लास्ट लाइनमा भनेको छु experiment. Look at this. Making different type of experiment in terms of constitution drafting and enforcement. So this is my observations. Okay. So I respect your own words. I respect your opinions also. You can create your own ideas also. अथवा संवैधानिक इतिहासलाई हेर्दै जाने हो भने हामीले विभिन्न प्रकारका मोडलका संविधानहरू एप्लाई गर्यौं कन्स्टिट्युसन मोनार्की ओलिगार्ची फ्यामिली राणा रेजिम तपाईको रिपब्लिकन युनिटरी एकात्मक शासन संघात्मक शासन तर जति पनि गर्दै छौं भन्दाखेरि still I can tell you we have been doing the experiment. Either these both can rescue us or not. This is still experiment. So maturity means it's not come out in overnight. It could take generation to generation. So when we talk about the stability, it means okay. त्यही भएर अब तपाईहरुलाई त धेरै अब थाहा छ कि छैन अब probably when you look at the literature, then मैले तपाईलाई रेफरेन्स दिँदाखेरि वरिष्ठ अधिवक्ता एकजना गणेश राज शर्मा हुनुहुन्थ्यो. अनफर्चुनेटली हि वाज पास्ड अवे a few years ago. उहाँले भनेको पनि यही हो. संविधानको बलियो संविधानलाई स्ट्रेन्थनिङ संविधानलाई चाहिँ स्ट्रङ बनाउनको लागि आवश्यकता अनुसार संशोधन गर्ने, आवश्यकता अनुसार आर्टिकल थप्ने, आवश्यकता अनुसार खारेज गर्ने हो. नयाँ संविधान लेख्दैमा सक्षम बलियो र स्टेबिलिटी आउँदैन. त्यसलाई त हाम्रो व्यवहारले कन्क्लुजन गर्नुपर्छ. व्यवहारले चाहिँ हामीले त्यसलाई सक्षम बनाउनुपर्छ भन्नुहुन्थ्यो उहाँलाई. बट look at this situation is at this present moment you can see. Okay, this is the background. I'm just telling you very short brief history. Okay, this is my personal opinion. Either you can differ also. I mean, I always welcome your suggestions, but let's talk one by one. First one is the Government Act of Nepal 2004 1948. During the oligarchy dynasty, I'm not feel comfortable to use dynasty. Rana oligarchy, Rana family, they can run this country under their own interest, promised in return form to operate the country. The first time, अथवा यसलाई नेपालीमा 2004 सालको वैधानिक कानुन भनिन्छ. वैधानिक means we are going to give you this document. Being a Rana prime minister, we are going to give this document and we can run this country based on this return form. 2004 सालको वैधानिक कानुन राणाहरूले नेपाली जनतालाई चाहिँ एउटा दिएको. Okay, don't blame us. We are not going to rule this country based on our interest and based on our verbal orders. Look at this. This is our guidelines to run the country. त्यही भएर वैधानिक कानुन 2004 सालको एउटा दियो राणाहरूले. Impact of the Second World War and ending the colonist regime. Because you know, at the train of that period, in that period, the war age, just over the Second World War, at the same time, मैले तपाईलाई भनेको छु कि छैन, यो दोस्रो विश्वयुद्धको सबैभन्दा ठुलो घाटा चाहिँ विश्वयुद्ध definitely the Britain alliance, they won the Second World War, but at the same time, सबैभन्दा ठुलो घाटा भएको भनेको चाहिँ ब्रिटेनलाई नै हो. Britain lost almost all his colonial power. तपाईले यो अलिकति डीप अध्ययन गर्दा मात्रै थाहा पाउनुहुन्छ. दोस्रो विश्वयुद्धमा ब्रिटिसले जित्यो, अमेरिकाले जित्यो, तर सबैभन्दा धेरै घाटा भएको भनेको चाहिँ ब्रिटिसलाई हो. बिकज probably 90% land, I mean his regime, I mean his rules were collapsed after Second World War. Only very few writers can explain in this way. You can analyze this from here, right? दोस्रो विश्वयुद्धको समाप्ति सँगसँगै के भयो भने इन्डिपेन्डेन्सी, स्वाधीनता, स्वतन्त्रताको लहरहरू आउँदै गयो. त्यसको परिणाम के भयो भन्दाखेरि ब्रिटिसहरूले आफ्नो कोलोनी, आफ्नो के भन्छ त्यसलाई, आधिपत्य लुज गर्दै गए. इन अफ्रिका, इन एसिया, इन साउथ अमेरिका आफ्टर द सेकेन्ड वर्ल्ड वार ब्रिटिसहरूले चाहिँ के गर्दै गयो भने, because the people, they believe they can rule by themselves. They want to freedom. They don't want to colonial power regime. They stand against this, against such regime. दोस्रो विश्वयुद्धको सबैभन्दा ठुलो घाटा भनेको ब्रिटेनलाई भयो. बिकज उसले चाहिँ धेरै आधिपत्यहरू, धेरै आफ्नो रिजिमहरू, धेरै आफ्नो अधिकार अथवा अरू कोलोनियल पावरमा चाहिँ उसले लुज गर्यो. एट द सेम टाइम अब हामी इतिहासले चाहिँ जहिले पनि त्यो कुरोहरू छोप्छ, तर उनीहरूले के हुन्छ भने जहिले दोस्रो विश्वयुद्ध कसले जित्यो भन्दाखेरि ब्रिटिस एलायन्सले जित्यो, ब्रिटिस एलायन्सले जित्यो, ब्रिटिस एम्पायरले जित्यो भन्छ. तर एट द सेम टाइम उसले चाहिँ इतिहासकारहरूले लेख्दैनन् उसको जुन रिजिम थियो, मैले भने नि अफ्रिका, साउथ अमेरिका, एसिया, दोस्रो विश्वयुद्ध पछाडि उसले लुज गर्दै गयो। त्यसकै इम्प्याक्ट चाहिँ के भयो भने राणाहरूलाई पनि पर्यो। दोस्रो युद्ध सक्यो, दोस्रो युद्ध सकिएपछि मेनी नेपालिज दे लर्न अबाउट द ग्लोबल informations. They fought for other interests. When they came back, return in their home country, then they start to revolt against such type of regime. Either they are from outside or inside. अथवा त्यो दोस्रो विश्वयुद्धको इम्प्याक्टले चाहिँ के भने या त बाहिरको कोलोनी होस् या त घरभित्रकै तपाईँको के भन्छ तपाईँको जाननीय शासन होस् उसको विरुद्धमा लड्न थाले। त्यो भइसकेपछि राणाले क्विकली दे इन्ट्रोड्युस वैधानिक कानुन। त्यही भएर मैले इम्प्याक्ट अफ द सेकेन्ड वर्ल्ड वार एन्ड एन्डिङ द कोलोनियस्ट रिजिमको इम्प्याक्ट पनि नेपालमा पर्यो। त्यो विश्वयुद्धले धेरै लिडर्सहरू जन्माए, धेरै राइट्सहरू, धेरै फ्रिडम्सहरू, धेरै एवारनेसहरू दियो। त्यो राणाको विरुद्धमा त्यो मोहन शमशेर पद्म शमशेर होइन त्यो मोहन शमशेर त पछि मोहन शमशेर नै होला अनि त्यो दियो इम्प्याक्ट अफ द सेकेन्ड वर्ल्ड वार एन्ड द एन्डिङ द कोलोनिस्ट रिजिम। देन द राणा डिक्लेयर्ड द गभर्मेन्ट एक्ट and said they would rule the country as per written law instead verbal and family interest. There were no separations of power, people freedom and the independence of the judiciary. They promised the government act is the fundamental law to rule the country. However, there were no separations of power, no people freedom, no independence of judiciary. You know, at the time we had a king, but the king had no power. Unlimited power exercised by the Rana family. Okay, people wanted to rule of law and by law instead, autocratic the Rana family. Then we can say it was the first document the ruler exercised power based on written law. However, there were no complete provisions in order to institute constitutionalism. अथवा त्यो तपाईको विभिन्न फ्याक्टर्सहरुले यो कानुनलाई यो वैधानिक कानुनलाई चाहिँ मूल कानुनको रूपमा रिकग्नाइज गर्यो। त्यो कारणले थियो अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय रूपमा स्वतन्त्रताको लहर होला, विश्वयुद्धले ल्याएको एउटा एवारनेस होला। त्यतिखेर चाहिँ अब राजाले पनि अब राजा त थियो, वी ह्याड अ किङ बट he did not have a power because unlimited power exercised by the Rana family. अब यो भइसकेपछि they agreed वैधानिक कानुन। तर त्यहाँ चाहिँ अझै पनि संविधानवाद, पिपल फ्रिडम अनि मोनर्क अनि तपाईको ती कुरोहरु थिएन। इट वाज डिक्लेयर्ड इन 1951 है 51 कहिले 48 मा डिक्लेयर गरेको यो तपाईको यो चाहिँ एक्ट है वैधानिक कानुन। ओके 1948 अथवा नेपाली 2004 साल र इंग्लिश चाहिँ 1949 सालमा immediately after the end of the second world war 45 46 47 look at this 48 ma impact of the war. Okay, this is the first document the rulers agreed we are going to rule the country based on in written law. Okay, so let's come to the next interim constitution of Nepal act 2006 अथवा 2007 सालको interim constitution अथवा in 1951 अथवा 1951 अनि तपाईको अर्को संविधान आयो interim constitution. Look at this, probably you are very familiar अथवा 2007 सालमा कस्तो कानुन आएको थियो भन्ने कुरोहरु चाहिँ this is the another part. Many writers they explain about the political movement, political achievement, political successful. They overthrow the Rana regime and they restore the king's power. And the king, Tribhuvan declared, "I'm going to return back this power to the people of this country. I don't want to be an autocratic king. So I want to elect representatives of people because this power, state's power exercised by the sovereign people, not by the king." भन्ने खालको कुरोहरु यो राजनीतिक वृत्तमा धेरै छलफल हुन्छ। 2007 सालमा कसरी प्रजातन्त्र, even today we are going to celebrate Fagun Sangati, our democracy day. ओके स्टिल अब त्यो कुरो चाहिँ पोलिटिकल वृत्तमा त्यो लामो छलफल हुन्छ तर त्यसलाई चाहिँ तपाईँले लिगलमा के लाएर हेर्नुभयो भने कन्स्टिट्युसनमा के लाएर छस्से हेर्नुभयो भने देन दिस द आवर पार्ट then I'm telling you interim constitution 2007 or 1951 one of the milestone agreement between the king and the people of Nepal because we kicked off the Rana regime because this is our history we end the colonist regime not from the outside but within our inside territory अथवा हाम्रै भित्रको जाननीय शासनलाई हामीले अन्त्य गरेको भनेर 2007 सालमा पोलिटिकल डेफिनेसन्समा पोलिटिकल व्याख्यामा गर्छन् अब तर यो लिगल वेमा चाहिँ के बुझिन्छ भने दिस द 2007 सालको इन्ट्रिम संविधान चाहिँ एउटा के हो भने राजाले किङ त्रिभुवन एन्ड द पिपल तपाईको आन्दोलनकारी नेताहरूको बीचको एउटा सम्झौता हो एग्रीमेन्ट बिट्विन द लेट किङ Tribhuvan and leader of people movement who overthrown the Rana regime in Nepal. Okay, we never became the colonial people from the outside, but we suffered as a second level of citizenship from the Rana family. बट 2051 सालमा अथवा 2007 सालमा त्यसलाई अन्त गर्यो अनि किङ प्रोमिस्ड टु ह्यान्ड ओभर सभरेन पावर टु पिपल इन स्टेट अटोक्रेटिक किङ इन नेपाल सो वाइ आइम टेलिङ दिस थिङ्स भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ के भने किङ प्रोमिस्ड सो मेबी समटाइम्स इट्स भेरी डिफिकल्ट टु सेपरेट पोलिटिकल एन्ड कन्स्टिट्युसन इस्युज त्यही भएर तपाईँले पछि बुझ्नुहुन्छ अदालतले पनि राजनीतिक विषयहरूलाई चाहिँ आफ्नो क्षेत्राधिकारको विषयवस्तु बनाउँदैन अन्ली कन्स्टिट्युसन र लिगल इस्युजहरूलाई मात्रै न्यायपालिकाले हेर्नुपर्छ अथवा राजनीतिक द्वन्द्वलाई राजनीतिक विवादलाई दिस इज नट जुरिस्डिक्सन्स अफ कोर्ट अन्ली कन्स्टिट्युसन इस्युज आर सब्जेक्ट टु जुरिस्डिक्सन्स अफ द कोर्ट है जस्तै अब अहिले एक्जाम्पल दिन्छु नेकपाको विवादलाई कुनै पनि अदालतले मुद्दा हेर्न सक्दैन दिस द पोलिटिकल इस्युज अब तर त्यसैबाट चाहिँ संवैधानिक कानुन टेकेर चाहिँ तपाईको नियुक्ति गर्यो बर्खास्ती गर्यो अथवा गर्यो भने देन दिस द कम अन्डर दिस कन्स्टिट्युसन इस्युज आई मिन्स लिगल इस्युज त्यो तपाईले विस्तारै बुझ्नुहुन्छ पोलिटिकल इस्युज आर न सब्जेक्ट अफ द जुडिसियरीज जुरिस्डिक्सन्स दिस देयर म्याटर्स है अब तर तपाईको अब भोलिको कहिले 20 गतेको अब त्यो उनीहरूको एजेन्डालाई चाहिँ रोक्ने गरी कोर्टले चाहिँ तपाईको गृहमन्त्रीले प्रधानमन्त्रीले चाहिँ निर्णय गरेर आदेश गर्यो भने देन दिस इज द सब्जेक्ट टु द कोर्ट आइदर पिपुल क्यान इन्जोय देयर फ्री एसेम्ब्ली अर नट त्यो कोर्टको विषय हुन्छ ओके लेट्स कम टु द ब्याक टु द 2007 सालको संविधानमा सो देन दे एग्री टु फर्मुलेट सुप्रिम ल दे एग्रीड आई मिन्स दे मिन्स let King Tribhuvan, I mean kingdom and the leaders of people, they agree to formulate supreme law by representative of people, and ensure people fundamental rights, the Supreme Court, the basic values of democracy, Supreme Court. Then after we introduce Pradhan Nyayalaya, whatever you give name, Pradhan Nyayalaya is the first independently set up court, okay, is the outcome of the interim constitution of 2007 2007 सालको कानुनको interim constitution अनुसार नै तपाई के हो भनेदेखि प्रधान न्यायालयको गठन भएको त्यो एक जारी भयो त्यसरी गरियो बेसिक भ्यालुज अफ डेमोक्रेसी भन्ने के भने पिपुल्सको फ्रीडम फन्डामेन्टल राइट्स जब तपाईको के भने 1950 के ह्युमन राइट डिक्लेरेसन युनिभर्सल डिक्लेरेसन्स अफ ह्युमन राइट्स को आयो त्यसको गुणहरु चाहिँ वी एडप्टेड इन आवर कन्स्टिट्युसन दिस कन्स्टिट्युसन जस्तो 50 मा तपाईको युनाइटेड नेसन डिक्लेरेसन्स अफ ह्युमन राइट्स 50 मा आयो 51 मा हामीले यो इन्ट्रिम कन्स्टिट्युसन पछाडी हामीले के गर्यौं भने वी बोरो दैट प्रिन्सिपल्स फ्रम देयर त्यसले गर्दाखेरि they agree to formulate supreme law by representative of people and ensure people fundamental rights, including political freedoms, multi-party system, voting system, and they agreed to set up separate nyalaya. Then we call this the Pradhan Nyalaya. Probably you are very familiar about the Pradhan Nyalaya. It was established the first time separate independent judiciary. Either it exercised its power separately, independently, or this is the different chapter for discussion. But I can tell you, in history, we set up independent judiciary structure and basic values of democracy, basic values. Okay, probably you are very familiar about the BP Koirala. He was very successful leader and very prominent leader in South Asia, and he always advocate in favor of democracy. So he was the final leader to restore democratic values in our country. Okay, so this is the another part. So they promise high constitution socio-economic goals for government. Okay, why I'm giving writing this sentence here? Then the government has a responsibility, accountability to ensure socio-economic privileges to the citizens. This is the first time. Okay, when we talk about the state government, then you have a responsibility to fulfill economic and social welfare, in terms of health, in terms of education, in terms of roads, in terms of electricity, drinking water, medicines. This is the state's responsibility. This is the state's responsibility to offer education, to give medicines, to give infrastructure, job. These responsibilities belong to the state. यो कुरोहरु पनि 2007 सालको त्यो इन्ट्रिममा थियो होला राजनीतिकहरूले भन्नु सक्छन् हामीले परिवर्तन गरेर हाम्रो अग्रजहरूले ल्याएर हाम्रो फाउन्डर मेम्बर्सहरूले ल्याएर आएको कुरो डेफिनेटली वी एग्रीड दे आर द सोर्सेस बट आवर कन्सर्न इज दिस प्रोभिजन हैज इन्कर्पोरेटेड इन द कन्स्टिट्युसन इन्कर्पोरेटेड दे ग्यारेन्टेड दिस थिंग्स इन कन्स्टिट्युसन सो सिन्स अब 70 वर्षदेखि जे कुरो गरेको छ आज पनि हामी त्यही कुरोमा अड्किरहेका छौँ देयर इज अ फाइन इन पेपर देयर इज नो क्वेसन मार्क इन पेपर हाम्रो हजुरबालाई सरकार स्टेटले जे भनेको थियो आज नातिहरूलाई पनि त्यही भनिरहेको छ ओके दिस द स्टेट responsibility to provide quality education, medical facilities, road, infrastructure, electricity, drinking water, medicines. These things are responsibility of the state. But अहिले मात्रै आएको होइन यो चाहिँ तपाईँ के 2007 सालको इन्ट्रिम कन्स्टिट्युसनमा पनि थियो दिस इज द रिटर्न प्रोमिस मेड बाय द स्टेट ओके अब then another point it was the first constitution to recognize representative of people our sovereign power remain with the people in state king one of the best things sarvam sampanna shakti sampanna को हो भन्दाखेरि नेपाली नागरिकको भन्ने कुरो 7 सालमै स्वीकार गरेको होला 19 सालमा हाइजेक भयो अघि किङ महेन्द्र दे रिटर्न ब्याक such power to royal family it was first time introduced in the 27 constitution I mean 2007 constitution people's representative are they can exercise sovereign power they decide everything based on the people and interest of people त्यो बेलाकै कुरो today we declare we are sovereign people we can make whatever we want it is our privilege we can formulate any kind of laws based on our interest this is not new so our grandpa they had already heard these twice so still we are talking the same thing okay and the last point impact of ending colonialist regime and independence movement not only outside countries but also to an inside autocratic system the 2007 सालको त्यो इम्प्याक्ट चाहिँ के भने दोस्रो विश्वयुद्धको इम्प्याक्ट लहरहरू त्यतिकै थियो अफ्रिका र युरोपमा र तपाईको त्यो बाहिरको शक्तिको अटोक्रेटिक मात्र हैन इनसाइडको पनि भन्नु 2007 सालको एउटा भन्नु सिम्पल भाषामा भन्दाखेरि राणा शासन अन्त गरेपछि कस्तो नेपाल बनाउने कस्तो कानुन बनाउने भन्ने खालको एउटा एन्ट्रिम कन्स्टिट्युसन हो। तर त्यो कन्स्टिट्युसनले यो कुरोहरू स्वीकारेको थियो अथवा डेमोक्रेटिक भ्यालुजहरू एट द टाइम वी इन्ट्रोड्युस्ड एन्ड वी रेस्पेक्ट पिपुल रिप्रेजेन्टेटिभ्स आर द सफरिन and we can confer, do understand about the confer our power to our representatives, and they can formulate a laws according to supreme law, supreme clause. In American context, they say supreme clause. We can say according to constitution. And Germany people say this the ground norms. Ground norms. The language is different, but meaning and goals are the same. ओके, यो 7 सालको यस्तो खालको संविधान थियो। अब लेट्स कम टु द थर्ड वान। लुक एट दिस कन्स्टिट्युसन अफ द किङडम अफ नेपाल 2015 अथवा नेपालको संविधान, नेपाल अधिराज्यको संविधान नै भन्थ्यो होला तपाईको, मलाई एक्ज्याक्टली द किङडम नै थियो। तर 2015 1959 it had continued written all provisions of the interim constitution. First things, probably you will remember that when we draft a new constitution, then one of the major sources is to keep continue the previous good features, not bad features. You left all leave all bad features and bring all, keep continue all good features. एउटा कुरो थियो 7 सालको इन्ट्रिम संविधानको राम्रो फिचर्सहरू 2015 सालमा आएको थियो। Beside it, drafted by commission and held House of Representative elections. किनभने 2007 सालदेखि तपाईको 15 सालसम्म त इलेक्सन भएको थिएन। तपाई के भने त्यो बेला त इन्ट्रिम नै चलेको थियो, जस्तो हाम्रोमा माओवादी आइसकेपछि तपाईको 15 साल तपाईको भयो जस्तै त्यो नोमिनीहरू थिए। Nominee in terms of represented by the people, represented by the political party, represented by the outgoing power, represented by the other factors in terms of religions, in terms of regionals, in terms of geographical, drafted by commissions and held House of Representative elections. The 2015 सालको इलेक्सन त्यो संविधान ड्राफ्ट यो कमिसनले गर्यो। I told you Ivor Jennings, he was the British constitution experts, but he always advocated in favor of the parliamentary system. He came to Nepal and gave his opinion when we were drafting the constitution. And when you look at the 2015 constitution, then in the background, how they formulated this constitution, definitely you can see a name of Ivor Jennings. And when you look for the who is Ivor Jennings, then you can get detailed information. He was a prominent constitution jurist. So he came here and gave suggestions what kind of constitution should be drafted in the present context. Particularly, he gave us suggestions regarding the parliamentary system. Okay. So then it defined the power of people representatives and exercise supremacy of parliamentary authority. So there's the one of the best things in 2015 constitution. The king was under the constitution. Look at this, one of the major things, and supremacy of parliament, because I told you about the England history, about they believe parliamentarians are the representative of people and people can do whatever they want. The same concept was introduced in our 2015 constitution. I mean, 2015 साल विक्रम सम्बत 2015 सालको कुरो गरे है मैले। They recognize people's representatives of people and the supremacy of parliamentary system. King is also under the constitution. I mean, king shall not have unlimited power. Despite king has some prerogative rights, but the rest of other powers, it has been conferred under the constitution. So supremacy of parliamentary system. So people, I mean, we cast, probably your grandfather or your father casted votes to your beloved candidates, and they elected. The first time 2007 सालमा पनि इलेक्सन भएर बनाएको होइन, त्यो दुईटा राजा र लिडर्सहरू मिलेर एउटा सम्झौता गरे, सम्झौता गरेर त्यही बिचमा अन्तरिम सरकारहरू केआई सिंह, तपाईँको मातृका प्रसाद, अरूको मोहन शमशेर प्रधानमन्त्री हुँदै आयो, तर फर्स्ट टाइम चाहिँ के भने अनि एउटा कमिसन बनायो, कमिसनले चाहिँ तपाईँको अनि 2015 सालको संविधान डिक्लेयर गर्यो, त्यसको आधारमा चाहिँ अनि 2015 सालको इलेक्सन भयो। अब त्यो कन्स्टिट्युसनले चाहिँ के गरेको थियो भन्दाखेरि मैले भनिसकेँ, इन्ट्रिम कन्स्टिट्युसनको राम्रो फिचर्सहरू त्यसले क्यारी गरेको थियो। अनि दोस्रो कुरो चाहिँ अनि कमिसनले ड्राफ्ट गरेको अनुमोदन गरेन त्यो आफ्नो ठाउँमा छ, तर त्यसैको आधारमा चाहिँ 15 सालमा इलेक्सन भएको थियो। त्यो इलेक्सन हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ के भने राजनीतिक जनताको प्रतिनिधिलाई चाहिँ मानेको थियो र जनताको प्रतिनिधिहरू नै सर्वै हुन्छ है, तिनीहरू चाहिँ सुप्रिम हुन्छ है भन्ने कुरो चाहिँ 2015 सालको कन्स्टिट्युसनले गरेको थियो। हो त्यो दिन बाहेक धेरै फिचर्सहरू 2015 सालको बाइ क्यामेरल पार्लियामेन्ट, हाउस अफ रिप्रेजेन्टेटिभ एन्ड नेसनल एसेम्ब्ली, इन्डिपेन्डेन्स जुडिसियरी, पार्टी सिस्टम कम्पिटिसन, these things are recognized in the constitution, in that constitution. अथवा हामीले भन्नुपर्दाखेरि बाइ क्यामेरल पार्लियामेन्ट, पछि म भन्छु तपाईँलाई बाइ क्यामेरल किन भन्नु, इन्डिपेन्डेन्स जुडिसियरी, पार्टी सिस्टम कम्पिटिसन, these are not new practices for us. Our forefathers, they did this practice, but only once. किनभने दोस्रो चोटि त इलेक्सन हुनै पाएन, महेन्द्रले कु गरिहाल्यो। So it means at that time we had recognized these principles. We have recognized these principles. Okay? अब तपाईको के भने the king held all prerogative powers. I mean all important powers. Prerogative means the king, when we talk about the constitutional monarchy, then some prerogative rights that belongs to them. I mean some actions are not subject to legal matters, constitution matters. When we talk about the constitutional monarchy. अथवा तपाईको के भने ठ्याक्कै संवैधानिक राजतन्त्र लेखिया थिएन in 2015 constitution, but the constitution has limited the monarchy power. Because we believe, according to our constitution, supremacy of the people's representative. We recognize representatives of people are our sovereign power. Because तपाईको के भने दुईटा sovereign power त हुन सक्दैन, कि जनतालाई मान्नु पर्यो कि राजतन्त्रलाई मान्नु पर्यो। तर 2015 सालको संविधानले चाहिँ के गरेको थियो भने पिपुल आर द सभरेन, त्यो चाहिँ 2007 सालमै कमिटमेन्ट गरेको हुनाले देयरफोर अब सभरेन हो भने कसलाई मान्ने भन्दाखेरि सुप्रिमेसी अफ पार्लियामेन्ट्री अथोरिटी, सुप्रिमेसी अफ पिपुल रिप्रेजेन्टेटिभ। डिस्पाइट द्याट त्यहाँनिर चाहिँ के भने कन्स्टिट्युसन मोनार्की अथवा किङहरुका केही प्रिरोगेटिभहरु चाहिँ इम्पोर्टेन्ट पावरहरु चाहिँ उसँग थियो, प्रिरोगेटिभ पावर्स है। जस्तो प्रिरोगेटिभ्स भनेको क्याबिनेट अथवा whatever the cabinet is going to advise him, जस्तो तपाईको एउटा के प्रिन्सिपल छ भने king can do no wrong. There is a very established principle, king can do no wrong, because whatever the king is going to do, it means the responsibilities belongs to the council of ministers. Therefore council of ministers are the legally responsible because they are the advisor of the king, advisor of the monarchy king. राजाले केही पनि गर्न सक्दैन, कन्स्टिट्युसन संवैधानिक राजतन्त्रमा राजाले केही पनि गर्न सक्दैन जबसम्म मन्त्री परिषदले यस भन्दैन भन्ने सिद्धान्त हो। किङ क्यान डु नो रङ भन्नु राजाले गल्ती गर्यो, राजतन्त्रले गल्ती गर्यो भने त्यो काउन्सिल अफ मिनिस्टरले जिम्मा लिनुपर्छ। त्यसले गर्दाखेरि राजाले गरेको कुरोहरू मन्त्री परिषदलाई थाहा थिएन, मन्त्रीलाई थाहा थिएन, प्रधानमन्त्रीलाई थाहा थिएन भन्नु पाइँदैन। Whatever the king is going to take a step, then we are going to take actions against you, our representative. त्यो तपाईको कन्स्टिट्युसन मोनार्की छुट्टै पार्ट छ, अब त्यो त्यतापट्टि नजाउँ अहिले। अब हाम्रो अहिले च्याप्टर त्यो त इलिमिनेट भइसक्यो। The king held all important power, prerogative power. One of the best parliamentary systems constitution in Nepal. One of the best parliamentarian systems constitution in Nepal ever before in our context. मैले तल लेखेको छु ल. However, the king was not happy on such provisions. The king wanted separate status. He believed sources of power are not people. Look at this confrontation started from there. Stand-off started from there. We borrow concept of constitution monarchy from the parliamentary system, I mean from the England, but our king was not happy. He wanted to establish his own status. He believed sources of power is not people. This me, this I am. Okay? One of the major causes why 2015 constitution was failed. Okay? Struggle of power. Similarly, he wanted to stay above the constitution and did not believe king can live silently. The king wanted to rule by his authority, instead elected representatives. So this constitution became victim because of power struggle between a God representative king and the people representatives. So I'm going to explain these things. So why the 2015 constitution? It was a very nice, rightly divided powers. It has covered a lot of principles. I mean, it recognized supremacy of parliamentary autocracy. This constitution recognized sovereign power exercised by the people, and it has guaranteed many fundamental rights. It has ensured independence of judiciary, separations of power, check and balance. Despite this provision, why this constitution failed? Then you can start research from today. 2015 सालको संविधान किन फेल भएको छ? In the eyes of the constitutional law, in the eyes of legal student. So definitely the king was also hungry to exercise power. He believed, I am the representative of this country, I am the sources of power of this country. I don't trust this parliamentary supremacy. I don't trust people can exercise their power. This is not Britain, this is not India, this is not our countries. I am the supreme, I am the representative of God. Because in our tradition, our custom, our culture, king is the representative of God. Raja भनेको देवताको प्रतिनिधि हो, उ शासन गर्नु आएको. This is our tradition, our culture, our practice. Though I am the ruler, I want to live above the constitutions. I don't want to stay silently because I am the ruler. When you look at the historical background, look at the religion's background, look at the tradition, look at the customs, I can't live silently. And they can't control my power. This is the major reasons, the confrontations between House of Representatives, or we can say the leaders and the king. Ultimately, I told you, so this constitution became victim because of power struggle between our God representative king and the people representatives. Okay, however, this is the most democratic constitution in Nepal ever before. तर यति हुँदा हुँदै पनि हामीले के भन्नु सक्छौं भने यो संविधान चाहिँ एउटा यति राम्रो, यति पर्फेक्टली गाइडेड गरेको संविधान थियो जुन कुरोहरु चाहिँ हामीले आज पनि त्यसलाई नमुनाको रूपमा लिन सक्छौं. उनीहरु जस्तो आइभर जेनिङको सजेसनदेखि लिएर हाम्रो होला त्यतिखेरको राम्रो राम्रो लिडर्सहरु उनीहरुले चाहिँ डेमोक्रेटिक भ्यालुजहरु बुझेको जुन कुरो आज हामीले कन्टिन्यू गरिरहेका छौं. Still today we are going to introduce in our constitution. मैले त्यही भनेर भनेको छु, हरेक पटक संविधानलाई तपाईको ड्राफ्ट गर्नु भनेको मेच्युरिटी होइन, यसलाई चाहिँ प्र्याक्टिसमा ल्याउनु पर्यो. प्र्याक्टिसमा ल्याएर सक्सेस बनाउनु पर्यो. संविधान राम्रो नराम्रो जे पनि हुन सक्छ, but we need to be reform our attitude, we need to be reform our behavior. जस्तो तपाईको 2021-20 मा देखि ट्रम्पले किन छोड्दियो र बिडेनले जनवरी 2021 को सरी जनवरी 2021 मा चाहिँ उले is going to be new president Joe Biden. भन्नुको देखि नै already fixed in which state they are going to replace the new president. They establish these things by their practice, by their moral grounds. मैले के भने 2015 सालको संविधान फेल हुनु हानुमा चाहिँ दुईटा शक्तिको उदय भयो। दुईटा शक्तिमा एउटा चाहिँ भर्खर बामी सर्दै गरेको, एउटा पुरानो शक्ति, किङडम पुरानो शक्ति। 7 सालदेखि 17 सालसम्म 10 वर्षमा दे लर्न मेनी थिङ्स। 7 सालभन्दा पहिला त राणाले केही गर्नै दिएको थिएन उनीहरूलाई। 10 वर्षमा धेरै लर्न गरे। ग्लोबल हेरे, विभिन्न राजतन्त्रहरू सक्सेस छ। इरानमा राजतन्त्र सक्सेस छ, थाइल्यान्डमा, जर्मनमा, मुस्लिम कन्ट्रीमा, तपाईको युरोपमा राजतन्त्र छ। नेपालमा चाहिँ किन नहुने? Why not success in Nepal? They try to use these things and they dig out their customs, I mean our customs, panchayat system. Okay, now let's come to the 2029 constitution. अथवा यसलाई चाहिँ पञ्चायत संविधान पनि भन्ने गरिन्छ, constitution of Nepal, and generally we easily understand पञ्चायतको संविधान, 2019 सालको पञ्चायतको संविधान. Look at this. What he did, the king abolished the 2015 constitution and declared sources of power to rule the country vested to the kingdom of Nepal. First things, restricted party system elections. The kingdom remained above the constitution and declared all sources of power to function the country vested to them, undermined completely sovereign power to people. I told at the beginning, हरेक पटक राजनीतिक परिवर्तन हुँदाखेरि हाम्रोमा चाहिँ के हो भने संविधान चाहिँ भिक्टिम भएको छ। मैले अर्को शब्द पनि भनेको छु, सरकार परिवर्तन हुँदाखेरि संविधानलाई के असर पर्दैन। तपाई 9 महिनामा सरकार परिवर्तन गर्नुस्, 1 वर्षमा गर्नुस्, 2 वर्षमा गर्नुस्, but it does not affect our constitution. But when you are going to change your system, then the first victim is the constitution. We learned this practice by our experiment. By our experiment. So look at this. Why 1962 constitution was there? The king was hunger to rule the country. So he declared, abolished the 2015 constitution. किनभने 2015 सालकै संविधानले त तपाईको उसको उलाई त रिकग्नाइज गर्दैन थियो। त्यहाँ त सुपरमेसी क्लज थियो, इन्डिपेन्डेन्ट जुडिसी थियो, त्यहाँ त पार्लियामेन्ट्री सुपरमेसी थियो, त्यहाँ त तपाईको सभरेन पावर त पिपलमा थियो, बाइक्यामेरियल हाउस थियो, इलेक्टेड प्रोभिजनहरु थियो। ओ त्यो रिकग्नाइज गर्ने हो भने त व्हाट इज हिज स्टेटस? देयरफोर ही एबोलिश्ड 2015 कन्स्टिट्युसन एट द बिगिनिङ। At the beginning. So the first things he abolished, not changed. चेन्ज गरेको भए पनि अलिक हुँदै हुन्थ्यो। ही एबोलिस्ड अथवा इले रिपिल त्यो गर्यो र उले चाहिँ तपाई के भने डिक्लेयर, उले चाहिँ राज्य सञ्चालन शक्तिको स्रोत भनेको चाहिँ राजतन्त्र हो, त्यो निहित शक्तिको स्रोत चाहिँ हामीमा रहन्छ भन्ने डिक्लेयर गर्यो। एन्ड सेकेन्ड थिङ, एट द सेम टाइम ही रेस्ट्रिक्टेड पार्टी सिस्टम इलेक्सन एन्ड ही डिक्लेयर द किङडम इज रिमेन अबभ द कन्स्टिट्युसन and sources of all powers of the state runs. All powers means judiciary, executives, Karyapalika, I mean lawmakers. Select you. Who is the prime minister? Who is the finance minister? Who is the home minister? The king can appoint. King shall have a power to appoint you. And king shall have a power. Who is the Supreme Court judge? Who is the second judge? Who is the third judge? And king can appoint who are the lawmakers from the university, from that region, from this region, from this community. The king can appoint. You are lawmakers. तर पछि तपाईको 21-32 सालदेखि चाहिँ इलेक्सन गर्यो, तर बीचमा चाहिँ के गर्यो भने all sources of power to run the states vested to the monarchy. तर 15 सालको संविधानले त दिँदैन त्यो, त्यसले गर्दाखेरि 19 सालमा त्यस्तो संविधान ल्यायो। ओके, त्यो आइसकेपछि because he wants to fulfill his dream, he believed the kingdom is the sources of power. So they introduced, I mean, these constitution introduced panchayat system. It was originated based on our traditional practices instead of other popular system. So why this constitution introduced means we are going to adopt these our soil-based soil-based system. We don't want about the other countries' system, other countries' system. Because people they don't know about the parliamentary system, because therefore our leaders were corrupt, they always hunger of power, they misuse the people's authorities, they never discharges their duties, they never accountable to the people. So why should we continue these regimes, this type of political systems? So let's introduce our own soil based system भनेर पञ्चायत सिस्टम आयो। अथवा मैले के भने हाम्रो नेताहरू भ्रष्ट भए, नेताहरूले काम गर्नु सकेन, जनताको नाममा ढाक्ने भयो, जनताहरूको नाममा चाहिँ मोनोपोली गर्ने भयो, आफ्नो इन्ट्रेस्टमा काम गर्ने भयो भने why we keep continue this type of system जुन नेपाली जनतालाई थाहै छैन। हाम्रै देशको, हाम्रै अङ्कुको, हाम्रै अब नेपालीमा भन्नुपर्दा माटो सुहाउँदो जनजीवनमा आधारित व्यवहारमा भएको सिस्टम ल्याउनुपर्छ भनेर पञ्चायत सिस्टम आयो। त्यो थियो, त्यसलाई चाहिँ कन्स्टिट्युसनमा इन्कर्पोरेट गरेर वी इन्ट्रोड्युस पञ्चायत सिस्टम। पञ्चायतले आफ्नो प्रतिनिधिहरू छान्ने, त्यो तपाईको विभिन्न सभाहरू, महिला सङ्गठन के सङ्गठन थियो तिनीहरूले चाहिँ छानेर पठाउँथ्यो, युनिभर्सिटीबाट ल मेकर्सहरू छानिन्थ्यो, प्रोफेसरहरूबाट छानिन्थ्यो, विभिन्न सेक्टर्सबाट। अथवा पञ्चायतमा त्यो चाहिँ के भने फाइनली किङ क्यान एप्रुभ द्याट योर नोमिनेसन। इट मिन्स हु आर द ल मेकर्स भन्ने कुरो चाहिँ किङले नै लाइन लगाउँथ्यो। हु इज द प्राइम मिनिस्टर, हु इज द सेकेन्ड मिनिस्टर, हु इज द फाइनान्स मिनिस्टर भन्ने चाहिँ किङले नै एपोइन्टी गर्थ्यो। को जज बन्ने, कसरी बन्ने भन्ने कुरो राजाले नियुक्ति गर्थ्यो। त्यसले गर्दा दे अल देयर लोयलिटी गोज टु द मोनार्की, नट टु द पिपल। देयर ड्युटी टु सर्भ द इन्ट्रेस्ट अफ द किङ। राजाले जे अराउँछ, जे भन्छ त्यो गर्दै जाने। देन all power belongs exercised by the king. यो चाहिँ पञ्चायत कन्स्टिट्युसनको अथवा 2019 सालको संविधानमा त्यो व्यवस्था थियो। राजा खुसी हुने बित्तिकै मन्त्री हुने, सबै थोक गर्ने थियो। There were no separations of power, है, no independence of judiciary, no people freedom, and restricted all democratic values and principles of constitutionalism. तपाईको त्यसो हुने बित्तिकै then the 100%. How could you believe the independence can, I mean, judiciary can perform independently? How could you believe the separations of power? Then how could you believe that constitution give you freedom? When you speak against the monarchy, then you are the subject to legal punishment. If you write any opinion regarding the kingdom, particularly against their performance and their decision, then you are subject to legal punishment. It means there were no freedom. Freedom means you have a right to peacefully assembly, you have a right to express your opinion, you have a right to say whatever you want, okay? Assembly means, freedom means law should guarantee who is your representative. Your representative means your rulers. अथवा मेरो प्रतिनिधि भनेको अर्को भाषामा भन्नुपर्दाखेरि मलाई शासन कसले गर्ने भन्ने कुरो, this is my inherent right. I want to select my representative because I want to give my authority to him. तर अब यो पञ्चायतमा त त्यो हुने भएन, किनभने the king is the center of power and the rest of other institutions, they must fulfill the interest of king or kingdom. So in this way, यो तपाईको यो भइसकेपछि अटोक्रेटिक भयो. The panchayat system was more autocratic. Panchayat system never respect democracy. They kept all leaders in jail. They banned, restricted all kind of political activities. They never allowed true set of political parties. So these things did happen in this under this constitution. Almost 30 years. Almost 30 years. 30 त भएन 19 भयो 39 भयो त्यसपछि 47 भने 25 वर्ष त्यसरी चाहिँ यो कन्स्टिट्युसनले रिजिम गर्यो तर पछि त इलेक्सन गरेको थियो अब त्यो आफ्नै पाटो छ that the king was above the constitution and all power exercised with permissions of the kingdom in state constitution. The constitution was there, but probably you understand about the de jure and de facto. De jure is constitution and de facto is the king. Whatever you want to get permission, the constitution is there, but you need to get from the kingdom, from the king. Then after you can apply that your power. So we can say Nepal had the constitution, but not constitutionalism. Look at this. I'm going to explain this thing. We had a constitution, but lack of constitutionalism. Therefore, I told you from the first day, constitution, constitutionalism, constitutional laws, these three things are very different. And they have their own meaning. So at that time, we had a constitution, but we didn't have a constitutionalism. So it means constitutionalism is limitations of government power. But the panchayat constitution, there were no limitations of power in terms of whatever the judiciary is going to do, it has been determined by the interest of the monarchy. I mean, judges, they didn't express their opinion. I mean, they could not able to express their opinion and write their opinion because they always approve the interest of the monarchy. अथवा के थियो भने जजेसहरूले आफ्नो स्वतन्त्र अभिव्यक्ति फैसला दिनु सक्दैन थियो अब सबै केसमा हैन त्यस्तो मेजर केसेसहरुमा दरबारले जे चाहेको छ त्यही अनुसारको फैसला गर्नु पर्थ्यो. It means lack of independence of judiciary. Similarly, lawmakersहरूले चाहिँ के भने दरबारको इन्ट्रेस्ट के छ त्यो अनुसार कानुन बनाउनु पर्थ्यो अथवा त्यो अनुसार चाहिँ त्यो कानुनहरु संशोधन गर्नु पर्थ्यो. पिपलको इन्ट्रेस्ट के छ भन्ने कुरो they never think this is the major concern, but they always rely on to the king's interest. And similarly, executives. मन्त्री कसले बनाएको भन्दाखेरि I was appointed by the king. Therefore, my first duty is definitely de jure, the constitution is there. But directly, indirectly, I need to be rely on to the king, to the institution, that institution, because they appointed me as a minister. Again, a lack of democracy, lack of, constitutionalism, but still we had the constitution. So in this way, we can understand about the historical development of constitution in Nepal. So look at this. We discussed about the four constitution. One is absolute monarchy provisions. 2015 is democratic values. 27 is agreement between the late King Tribhuvan and the leadership of the movement. And the Vaidhanik Canon, first time the Rana declared, we are going to rule the country based on the written laws. Written law. We don't want to continue the same practices what our forefather did. Whatever they speak, that was law. Verbal. It means whatever they told you, that's the law. And execution's power, interpretation's power, enforcement power, making power, these three things vested to the Rana. अब 2019 सालको संविधानमा पनि यी सबै कुरोहरु व्याख्या गर्ने कार्यान्वयन गर्ने कानुन बनाउने कुरोहरु चाहिँ with the interest of the king अथवा we are the sources of this constitution, we are the sources of पावर भनेर जब संविधानले डिक्लेयर गर्यो त्यसको तात्पर्य के हो भनेदेखि नाउ you need to respect that institution. Then we call this the Jahananya, autocratic, fundamentalist, ektantriya भनेर नेपालीमा भनिन्छ जुन कुरोहरु चाहिँ त्यो चाहिँ completely against the principles of democracy, against the principle of constitutionalism, against the principle of independent judiciary, separation of power, judicial review, the all principles that practices would be suppressed. ओके यो पञ्चायतको सिस्टम यस्तो थियो यसरी संविधान आयो अब तपाईको मैले भने नेपाल had the constitution but not constitutionalism okay and then let's come to the 1990 constitution look at this the constitution of the kingdom of Nepal 2047 in Bikram Samvat or AD we can say that 1990 constitution. It was an agreement between popular-led King Birendra and the party who revolted against panchayat system in Nepal. Okay, there is two things. Birendra was very mild, very liberal, and he always believed in favor of citizens of this country. But when we talk about the kingdom, probably he's a leader, but he had many supporters, maybe queen, son, uncle, and other group members, but they were not happy to give power to people. I'm telling these things, you can also analyze it by yourself. But when they revolt against the panchayat system, तपाईको अब भन्नु होला मैले बुझे अनुसार दिस माई पर्सनल ओपिनियन उनीहरूले राजतन्त्रको विरुद्धमा कहिले आन्दोलन भएको थिएन 47 को संविधानमा दिस माई अब्जर्भेसन दे नेभर स्पीक अगेन्स्ट द किङडम बट दे जस्ट स्पीक अबाउट द अटोक्रेटिक किङडम अथवा 47 सालको संविधानको आउनुको एउटा गोल के थियो भनेदेखि पञ्चायत सिस्टम चाहिँ सुइटेबल भएन वी पीपल आर नट ह्याप्पी अकॉर्डिङ टु दिस पञ्चायत सिस्टम वी आर इन फेभर अफ यू वी आर फेभर इन अफ किङडम बट वी वान्ट लिमिटेड किङडम वी वान्ट सच किङडम शुड बी स्टे अन्डर द कन्स्टिट्युसन तपाईको अब 47 सालको संविधान राजतन्त्रको विरुद्ध गरेको हैन कि पञ्चायत सिस्टमको विरुद्ध गरेको दे वान्ट पोलिटिकल फ्रीडम्स दे वान्ट right to freedom they want right to expressions opinion political freedom elections people representative independence judiciary these things they want to restore in Nepal अब त्यसको परिणाम के भने वीरेन्द्र र तपाईको आन्दोलनकारी दलहरु बीचमा एउटा सम्झौता भयो तपाईको राजतन्त्र फाल्ने गरेको सम्झौता होइन तपाई के भने पञ्चायत सिस्टमको बिकज दिस पञ्चायत सिस्टम रेस्ट्रिक्टेड आवर फ्रीडम it's undermined independence of judiciary it's undermined values of the constitution it never recognized people's sovereignty okay उनीहरुले तपाईले के अब बिकज यु आर द बिगिनिङ पोइन्ट देयरफोर आई एम टेलिङ यु 47 सालको संविधान भनेको राजतन्त्र फ्याक्ने संविधान अथवा कसैले अब त्यो कति लेखकले लेख्छन् लेख्दैनन् आफ्नो ठाउँमा छ तर तपाईले यो रिसर्च गर्नुस् कि त्यो सिस्टमको विरुद्धमा चाहिँ आएको हो त्यहाँ त्यतिखेरको गणेशमान होला कृष्ण प्रसाद भट्टराई होला तपाईको मनमोहन अधिकारी होला तपाईको गिरिजा प्रसाद कोइराला होला दे अलवेज अगेन्स्ट द पञ्चायत सिस्टम किनभने पञ्चायत सिस्टमले त 15 सालको लाई ब्यान गरेर 20 सालमा तपाई के गुणहरु लिएर आएको थियो कन्स्टिट्युसनमा के थियो भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ आई टोल्ड यु अब तपाई के हो भने 47 सालमा आएर दे एग्रीड I mean, agreed between the king and the leaders, those who are against the panchayat system. That's the very common thing. They restore multi-party system, sovereign power to people of this country, and keep the kingdom in the constitution monarchy as a British model kingdom. Well, just we fought for paper, right here. We restored multi-party system in the 2014 constitution. We introduced independence of judiciary. We respect supremacy of the parliamentary system. And we control the kingdom's power under the constitution. Then we gave name constitutional monarchy, a model of British kingdom, a model of British kingdom. So constitutional monarchy, because this most simple के भन्छ 2015 सालका धेरै कुरोहरूलाई हामीले तानेर ल्यायौँ जुन चाहिँ तपाईँको 2019 सालको संविधानमा चाहिँ पञ्चायत संविधानले चाहिँ रेस्ट्रिक्टेड गरेको थियो प्रिभेन्टेड गरेको थियो त्यो कुरोहरू चाहिँ हामीले इलिमिनेट गरेर 15 सालको कुरोहरूलाई हामीले लिएर आयौँ Definitely we add many more new provisions also हामीले नयाँ प्रोभिजन्सहरु पनि थप्यौं किनभने I told you when we are going to draft new constitution then definitely we can carry all good features from old to new हामीले चाहिँ के भने 19 देखि 15 चाहिँ रिग्रेसिभ भयो तर रेस्ट अफ अदर चाहिँ हामीले के भने त्यो संवैधानिक विकास क्रममा चाहिँ राम्रो कुरोहरु हामीले त वैधानिक कानूनको पनि छ 2007 सालको पनि छ 15 सालको पनि छ 19 सालको पनि छ तपाईको 90 सालको 1990 कन्स्टिट्युसनको पनि छ मैले जोड्न खोजेको के भने यसरी यो आइसकेपछि we restore multi party system we restore power of people sovereign powers to the people not to the king we respect constitutional monarchy we respect monarchy but we give you constitutional monarchy means you are recognized not by your inherent not by your your generation to generation we give you your all rights and duty under the constitution तपाईको 2090 सालको कन्स्टिट्युसन 1990 कन्स्टिट्युसनमा एउटा च्याप्टर श्री 5 भन्ने थियो 1990 कन्स्टिट्युसन तपाईले हेर्नुहुन्छ भने त्यहाँनेर देयर वाज वन च्याप्टर its topics was श्री 5 त्यो राजतन्त्रले के गर्न सक्छ के गर्न सक्दैन भन्ने कुरो चाहिँ it was incorporated in that chapter in 2047 constitution okay it had guaranteed fundamental rights multi-party system respects people representative and the king authority under the constitution why I'm talking only these things this is the history of our constitution document you can see these words in our constitution ती कुरो रिस्टोर गरे बीचमा हाइजेक भएको थियो बीचमा चाहिँ किङ महेन्द्रले he kept away he took away these rights from us to constitution to autocratic kingdom but now we again got success to return back in our space in our constitution okay यो कुरोहरु त्यसमा थियो It had guaranteed fundamental rights. I told you, at the time in 1990 Constitution, there were 11 fundamental rights. In interim Constitution 2007, there were, I think, 22 or 20 fundamental rights. But at the moment, look at, in our Constitution, there are 31 fundamental rights. So how you could see the changes from 1992 2015, within 25 years, we got 3 constitutions. And what are the changes? In paper, you can see there, you can compare these things. And similarly, Nepal had the constitution along with constitutionalism. So we can say at the first time, after 2015 constitution, we introduced all principles of constitutionalism. It means our government was limited. Our judiciary was independent. Our lawmakers, they can exercise their power which has been conferred by the constitution and they can perform their discharges according to supremacy of law, according to apex law. And there were a principle and preamble in the constitution. It declares many things. It's moving, country is moving in that directions. So then we can say in 1990 constitution, it was the constitution as well as adopted all principles of constitutionalism. I'm talking with you about the historical development of constitution. So This constitution failed because of why this constitution failed. So that's the one of the very interesting things. You can write down by your own opinion, but what I found, then I can tell you these things. This constitution failed because of the king wanted to intend space of the power in practices and failure to discharge by people representative according to this constitution. First things, because people representatives, they were not aware how to discharge their responsibility as per the constitution. They guided by petty interests. Our representatives, those who were elected by our votes, they played their petty interest like a groupism. They fulfilled their interest to gain power, to gain resources, to acquire asset. अथवा 90 साल 2047 सालको संविधानमा पनि हाम्रो निर्वाचित सांसदहरूले राम्रो काम गर्दैको भए र अर्कोतिर राजाले पनि आफ्नो स्वार्थलाई संविधानमा यो म यो घेरामा बस्नु सक्दिनँ, योभन्दा मलाई अलिक धेरै चाहिन्छ भन्ने खालको स्वार्थ नदेखाएको भए आज हाम्रो त्यो 1990 को संविधान 30 वर्ष पुग्थ्यो, 4 चोटि इलेक्सन हुन्थ्यो, हामीसँग राम्रा नेताहरू हुन्थे, हामीले चाहिँ केही न केही आजभन्दा राम्रो प्रगति गर्थ्यौँ, केही न केही. It means in 30 years probably we could start the values of stability. I'm not telling you 100%, तर केही न केही राम्रो गर्न सक्थ्यौँ. Okay, for these reasons, look at this. मैले एउटा पोइन्ट बनाएको छु त्यहाँनिर. अब तपाईहरु सहमत हुनुहुन्छ हुनुहुन्न, this is your opinion, okay? But I feel that's the appropriate things. International factors might also try to replace this constitution and provoke hidden group than the most. Maybe you think this is my bias, but international factors, they might also try to influence, try to replace this constitution. I'm not telling you only international factors, but national factors were also actively involved to replace the 1990 constitutions. Suppose the king's supporters, those who believe autocratic kingdom, those who were dissatisfied, and those who were very strong power holder during the panchayat regime, they try to provoke, they try to replace the 1990 constitution. अथवा भन्नु खोजेको इन्टरनेशनल फ्याक्टर्स, देशभित्रैका पनि पञ्चायतमा हालिमुहाली गरेका राजाका नजिकका राजालाई उक्साहट दिने शक्तिहरूले पनि 1990 को कन्स्टिट्युसन नफेकेसम्म राजतन्त्रमा शक्ति फर्किँदैन भन्ने प्रोभोक गर्न थाले होइन, प्रष्टै रूपमा छन्. अब त्यो यु आर स्टुडेन्ट्स, प्रोबेबली योर आई एम नट जजिङ योर एबिलिटी, बट आई एम टेलिङ यु ट्रुथ. देशभित्रै पनि 1990 को संविधानलाई विस्थापित नगरेसम्म राजतन्त्रमा शक्ति फर्किँदैन भन्ने एलायन्स मेम्बर्सहरू पनि लागे. त्यसको अर्को परिणाम के भयो भने जो निर्वाचित भएर जान्छ ऊ नफर्किने, संविधानमा काम नगर्ने, आफ्नो स्वार्थ मात्रै खोजिने, ग्रुपिजममा लाग्ने, पिटी इन्ट्रेस्टमा पुग्ने, these all things were the major causes to victim of 1990 constitution. त्यो भइसकेपछि त्यसको परिणाममा मैले लास्टमा प्रोभोक हिडन ग्रुप देन द माउस्ट, पछि चाहिँ के भयो भने एउटा त्यो हिडन ग्रुप डाइरेक्टली इनडाइरेक्टली हिडन ग्रुपमा चाहिँ एउटा माउस शक्ति आयो, अथवा स्टेटले चाहिँ के भन्यो भने टेररिस्ट भन्यो, अथवा इन्सर्जेन्ट भन्यो, अथवा दे आर द ल भायोलेटर्स भन्यो, अथवा इन्टरनेसनल टेररिस्ट हो भनेर पनि नेपालले प्रोभोक गर्यो. अथवा नेपाल गभर्मेन्टले यतिसम्म भन्यो कि माओइस्ट आर वर द इन्टरनेसनल टेररिस्ट they had a networks in every countries. Those particularly believe in communist countries. त्यो भनेर तपाईँ माओइस्टलाई चाहिँ तपाईँ के भने इन्टरनेसनल कम्युनिटीमा प्रोबेबली अमेरिकाले तपाईँको के लिस्टिङ नै गरेर तपाईँ के गर्यो भने वी आर गोइङ टु restricted you, we are going to take legal actions against you भन्नेसम्म पुग्यो। अब भन्नु खोजेको के भने यसरी यसको परिणामको तपाईको यहाँ आन्दोलन भयो, तपाईको हरेक भयो, के भयो, तर भिक्टिम चाहिँ के भयो भन्दाखेरि being a constitution law, being a law student, then we declare 1990 constitution is no more applicable in our country. No more applicable. Because we believe that constitution was very good, very nice. We incorporated everything. We guaranteed many fundamental rights, many things. We finally written about the independence of judiciary. We respected sovereign power belongs to the citizens of this country. Despite that, internal and external factors, even the rulers and the oppositions, even the constitution has limited the power of the kingdom. Such groups, they try to hit the constitution. They try to replace the constitution. They were not happy. That provisions. Their powers could be limited. Therefore, first things they want to replace this constitution. 1990 constitution मरिसकेपछि के भयो कता कता भयो, and then every day you can update it, you can receive informations. Probably you are under 18, 19, 20, then you are very familiar about the two-decade history of constitution. So I told these things, and let's come then interim constitution. Again, because date of we declare the 1990 constitution is no more applicable in this country, then we introduce Nepal interim constitution 206 AD, and major goals to bring the revolutionary groups into the mainstream of national development through the new constitution. So one thing is interim itself means temporary constitution. Okay? Temporary constitution. So how you are going to run your state means either you formulate it temporary for certain periods of time, or you are going to declare permanent constitution. So interim means in certain periods. This is a transitional constitution. We apply these provisions only for transitional period. Therefore, we call this the interim constitution. Interim constitution. So, why I'm telling these things, the major goal of this interim constitution of 2006 is to bring the revolutionary groups into the mainstream of national development through the new constitution. हामीले 1990 को constitution लाई के गर्यो नि we out गर्दियो. Okay, no more applicable. We don't have this constitution. Maybe there were many factors to kick out this constitution. Okay, मैले भनिसकेको छु यो स्टेबिलिटी ल्याउनु भनेको चाहिँ के त्यो तपाईको नि पटक पटक अस्ति पनि भनेको छु कन्स्टिट्युसन पटक पटक चेन्ज गर्नु भनेको चाहिँ के हो भन्दाखेरि एउटा इनस्टेबिलिटीको कजै त्यही हो. तपाई जति लामो हामी आर्ग्यु गर्न सक्छौं. When you are going to change the constitution, it means you are going to create another instability. Another instability. I told you about the Indian practice. We respect our founder fathers. Our forefathers gave us these framework. They show us the roadmap to develop our nations, national integrity, prosperity, fundamental freedoms, our political system. So we need to look for all solutions within the constitution. When you go out or go beyond the constitution for looking for solution, there's the completely you are going to start another new instability. They have a committed principles. अब तपाईँले यो मैले चार पाँचवटा कन्स्टिट्युसन भनेपछि देन यु क्यान एनालाइसिस बाई यर सेल्फ वाइ वी आर हियर स्टिल सो इन्ट्रिम कन्स्टिट्युसन इट्स अ मेजर गोल टु ब्रिङ द रिभोल्युसनरी ग्रुप्स रिभोल्युसनरी अब कसैले क्रान्तिकारी भन्छ कसैले क्रान्तिकारी भन्छ कसैले राष्ट्रवादी भन्छ कसैले माओइस्ट भन्छ वाट एभर यु गिभ नेम्स दिस यर फ्रिडम ओके इन्टु मेन स्ट्रिम अफ नेसनल डेभलपमेन्ट थ्रु द न्यू कन्स्टिट्युसन नयाँ संविधान लेखेर चाहिँ त्यो राष्ट्रवादीहरूलाई अथवा क्रान्तिकारीहरूलाई चाहिँ राज्यको मूलधारमा ल्याउनको लागि आन्तरिक संविधानको एउटा मेजर गोल बन्यो डेफिनेटली देयर वर फन्डामेन्टल राइट्स पार्लियामेन्ट्री सिस्टम इन्डिपेन्डेन्ट जुडिसियरी जजेस एपोइन्टमेन्ट प्रोसिड्युर जुडिसियल even constitution commissions, they all were there. Despite that, I'm just talking about the main features of that constitution. Okay? And second one, there were some new agendas. They thought it would be means to achieve destinations for Nepal. There were some new agendas. They thought, I mean, the government of Nepal and the Maos, they thought, or revolutionary group, it would be the means to achieve destinations for Nepal. Achieve destinations for Nepal means good prosperity, economic sustainability, eliminate all kind of discriminations, and ensure the equal representatives from all castes, religions, and minority groups, and restructuring of the state. But still, one thing I will tell you. In the first draft of the interim constitution, there were no provisions of federal restructuring in Nepal. In the first draft, अथवा इन्ट्रिम संविधानको पहिलो मस्यौदामा चाहिँ तपाईको के थियो भने राज्य पुनर्संरचना संघात्मक प्रणालीबाट गरिनेछ भन्ने थिएन बट इट वाज इन्ट्रोड्युस ओन्ली आफ्टर द तराई मुभमेन्ट मधेस मुभमेन्ट मधेस मुभमेन्ट भइसकेपछि इन्ट्रिम संविधानमा चाहिँ राज्यलाई पुनर्संरचना गर्नको लागि संघीयता मार्फत गरिनेछ भनेर मधेसको मुभमेन्ट भयो 50 दिनको आन्दोलन भयो 20-25 जना कति मरे त्यस पछाडी चाहिँ इन्ट्रिम संविधानमा त्यो प्रोभिजन क्लज राखेर अनि त्यहाँबाट भन्यो तर बिइङ कन्स्टिट्युसन स्टुडेन्ट्स माओवादीले तपाईको के थियो भने आई एम टेलिङ यु बाबुरामको पहिलो लेख एउटा आएको छ कान्तिपुरमा राजदरबारको हत्याभन्दा पहिला गणतन्त्र अथवा राजतन्त्रको विरुद्धमा माओवादीले पनि बोलेको थिएन I'm just giving you glimpse when the royalist massacre happened on 2nd June of 2002 अथवा त्यो जब भयो त्यो पछाडी मात्र के भने माओवादीले के एजेन्डा ल्यायो भन्दाखेरि गणतन्त्रको एजेन्डा ल्यायो अब तर इन्ट्रिम संविधान 6 सालमा आउँदाखेरि पनि त्यो चाहिँ रिटर्न फर्ममा थिएन इभन when they drafted these interim constitution they were the Maoist representative also but they never incorporated these things in written form गणतन्त्र ल्याउने तपाईको के भने गणतन्त्र ल्याउने र संघात्मक भन्ने कुरोहरु उनीहरुले बाहिर बस गर्थे तर इन्ट्रिम कन्स्टिट्युसन फर्स्ट ड्राफ्टमा आउँदाखेरि थिएन तर जब यो इन्ट्रिम कन्स्टिट्युसनको टाइम बाउन्ड हुँदै गयो टाइम किलिङ हुँदै गयो देन वी इन्ट्रोड्युस न्यू एजेन्डाज अब यो चाहिँ फ्युचरमा कसरी एनालाइसिस गर्छ दिस इयर पार्ट्स एन्ड आवर पार्ट्स लेट्स वर्क टुगेदर कसको इन्ट्रेस्ट के थियो भन्ने कुरोहरु चाहिँ त्यसरी गर्दै जाला तर इन्ट्रिम कन्स्टिट्युसनको त्यो थियो आउटकम अफ कम्प्रिहेन्सिभ पीस एग्रीमेन्ट it was held in India 12-point agreements we can say it's very popular then based on it they compelled to introduce this first point And second point, त्यो 12 बुद्धे सम्झौतामा संविधानलाई खारेज गरेर नयाँ संविधान ल्याउने, त्यो संविधानमा त्यो नयाँ एजेन्डाहरू चयन गर्ने. At the same time, they agreed the constitution will have drafted by people represented by Constitution Assembly. Insurgency's major demand to draft a new constitution, is the beginning point for national development. यो संविधान सभा मार्फत संविधान गर्ने यो चाहिँ एउटा बिगिनिङ पोइन्ट हुन्छ. आजसम्म संविधान कि त कमिसनले बनायो कि राजाले दियो. जस्तो तपाईँको 1990 कन्स्टिट्युसन पनि राजाले फर्मुलेट गरेको कमिटीबाट गरेको थियो. 15 सालको पनि गरेको थियो. महेन्द्रले आफ्नो बलबुतामा गर्यो. 2007 सालमा एउटा सम्झौता जस्तो बनाएको थियो. सो दे indicate now when we are going to draft the constitution, then it should be drafted by people represented. It means we are going to draft the new constitution by constituent assembly. This is the demand of the insurgency group, and the government of Nepal at the time, the government of Nepal agreed. They are going to hold the constituent assembly elections, and the representatives have a responsibility to draft the constitution, and this is the mandate of the mandatory provisions of the constitution to the elected representatives. And basically it is a transitional constitution. And I already told you interim constitution means the transitional constitution, okay, and recognize a kind of pact, kind of agreement, kind of term and condition between government of Nepal and the Maoist. And it had accepted, look at this, very good provision. It had accepted all provisions guaranteed in the Constitution of the Kingdom of Nepal 1990. Why I use these things means in terms of independence of judiciary, in terms of supremacy of parliament, in terms of fundamental rights, in terms of check and balance, in terms of principle of constitutionalism. This interim constitution had accepted all provisions which were incorporated in the Constitution of the Kingdom of Nepal. Okay, यो सबै कुरोहरु चाहिँ interim constitutionले स्वीकारेको थियो. अब तपाईको लास्ट बुदामा मैले के भने so look at this. The Constitution of Nepal 2072 or 2015 of Nepal has replaced interim constitution. Now अब तपाई के भने यो 6 वटा हामीले कन्स्टिट्युसन हिस्टोरिजहरु पढ्यौं. ओके, कन्स्टिट्युसन हिस्टोरिज हामीसँग 5 मिनेट टाइम रहेछ. अब आएर यो कन्स्टिट्युसन अफ नेपाल 72 को चाहिँ के छ भने अब tomorrow I am going to talk about the features of the Constitution of Nepal 72. The विशेषताहरु के छ. Before that, I am just giving you, because you are very familiar what kind of constitution we have in the present context. Drafted and promulgated by Constitution Assembly, abolished the monarchy and declared the republican state, as well as federal system introduced, mixed system of elections, because in the previous election models there were no mixed system of elections, inclusive principles at all levels of state structures, at all levels, in judiciary, lawmaking, cabinet, not only at the center, but at the provincial level, at the local authority levels. Constitution has guaranteed inclusive principles in order to end all kind of discriminations. Okay, in order to end all kind of discriminations. First things, if you don't have a representatives, then your voice might not be raised there. So who is going to raise your voice means, according to principle, your representative should be raised that voice. Therefore, first things to ensure your representative. Therefore, inclusive principles at all level, at all state structures. These things recognize fundamental rights, social welfare states, social states, secular state, and etc. There are many other provisions. Okay, recognize fundamental rights. every constitution, 1990 interim constitution and 2015 constitution. We are very happy because every constitution they increased the space of fundamental rights, increased the space of fundamental rights. We have introduced some new fundamental rights, consumer, environment, women rights. These things are incorporated in the present constitution. So at the same time, the constitution with all principle of constitutionalism, then we can say that definitely 1990 constitution, interim constitution, and 20, I mean 2015 सालको अथवा 19 को 62 1962 no 1958 को होला 1959 को constitution they accepted principle of constitutionalism. So these are the provisions in the present context. And tomorrow we are going to discuss about the 2015, 2072 Constitution's features, and in that period we are going to discuss a little bit more about this Constitution. What is the aim? What is the goal? And how we formulated this Constitution? And how can we understand about the mixed system of elections? And what type of federal system we have? And what are the concept of inclusive principles, and why we need to introduce these things, and then 31 fundamental rights, including social welfare state, why we promise, why the Constitution has promised these goals to people, we are going to discuss tomorrow, and the silent feature and features of this present Constitution. Okay, so today I covered these things, today's discussions. So I'm asking the students, if you have any questions, if you have any informations if you feel it is important to share with your friends, including me, then you can go ahead. Are you listening me, students?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do I have any question?
I don't think so, sir.
You don't think? Okay, I want some feedback from you about my classes. Do you think I need to improve in another way, or what is your suggestion? अथवा कसरी गर्दाखेरि सजिलो राम्रो maybe comfortable हुन सक्ला? Do you have any idea? I want your feedback.
सर त्यस्तो केही त छैन जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई। अब खासै त्यस्तो छैन के भन्ने। आज चाहिँ मलाई लाग्छ हामीले हजुर आज चाहिँ हामीले अलिकति नथाहा भएकै कुरा एकदम राम्ररी नथाहा पाएको कुरा भएर पनि होला क्वेसनहरु धेरै नआएको।
हैन, यो त कमनली रूपमा हाम्रो प्र्याक्टिसमै भएको कुरो हो। यो अब आफ्नो आफ्नो लेखकहरूको प्रस्तुति, राइटर्सहरूको, टिचर्सहरूको प्रस्तुति आफ्नो आफ्नो हुनसक्छ, तर यो हामीले मैले तपाईलाई सुरुमै भने इतिहासको पाटोभन्दा पनि कन्स्टिट्युसन र लिगल पाटोबाट मैले कभर गर्ने हो। राजनीतिक पाटोबाट राजनीतिज्ञहरूले गर्लान् हैन, त्यो हुन्छ। अनि त्यसो छ। अनि फिल फ्री इफ यु हेभ एनीथिङ for me in our classes, please don't be hesitate, share with us. किनभने अब लाग्छ मलाई अब यो हाम्रो सेमिस्टर हामीले यसरी नै सक्नु पर्ला, प्रोबेबली अब तपाईहरुको इन क्लासरुमको भेट हुन्छ कि हुँदैन अब यो सेमिस्टरमा, आई डोन्ट नो है। तर एटलिस्ट जे अवेलेबल इन्स्ट्रुमेन्ट्स, फ्यासिलिटिज, इक्विपमेन्टहरु छ, लेट्स युज टुगेदर हैन। यो हामी हजुर
हामीलाई बरु प्रेजेन्टेसन अवेलेबल पार्दिएको भए चाहिँ हुन्थ्यो सर।
प्रेजेन्टेसन भनेको के शीर्षक दिएर
होइन भन्नाले हजुरले जुन स्लाइड्सहरू युज गर्नुहुन्छ नि सर त्यो स्लाइड्सहरू चाहिँ
ए त्यो म सेयर गरिदिन्छु डोन्ट वरी यो त्यो मैले तपाईँलाई मेटेरियल्स दिने कुरोहरूमा त आइ एम नट गोइङ टु हाइड एनिथिङ वाट एभर आई सो यु आई विल गिभ यु डोन्ट वरी
ए हस् सर
Okay, so then let's stop today's discussion.
Okay,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Okay, thank you to all the students. Okay, see you tomorrow.
Have a good
Bye.
day, sir.
Have a good day.